following is brought to you by TaskJack, the future of task management. There is power in the universe. Just like there's good power, there's bad power too. Now, if people who are unrighteous get access to power, now you have some pretty dangerous stuff. There are bad people who practice dark magic. Maybe it didn't start out there, but they got into it deep. And then there was a moment where they realized the bad stuff they were about to do or did, and they could make a turn back to good, but doing so would require a lot of spiritual work, a lot of good deeds, a lot of good actions that are probably going to be tough, not necessarily reward you in this world. A lot of giving up and maybe even sacrificing things that you would otherwise enjoy. And some people have the courage to turn back and are willing to face that fight. And other people keep going. They keep going down a wrong path, and they'll either face it later or they'll search long and hard to try to find a way to avoid the spiritual laws altogether. And the deeper they go with this, the worse their intent. The worse they're getting, but the worse the actions they're doing. Because they're trying to manipulate others to believe their framework, to fight for the very thing that they're fighting for. So you've heard the term many times, the hell on earth. Many have already figured out ways to crack the spiritual code of what you look like, to give the false appearance of looking innocent when in reality, they're probably just ugly souls. In another world, how it is internal, is external. Meaning when you commit wrongs, spiritual wrongs, the world tends to let you know. Stay away from this person. You hear your parents tell you that. They feel the energy. It's funny how parents have a pretty good gauge of what's good for their kids, because the love is there. And a good person doesn't take revenge on someone. Tit for tat is not righteous behavior. You don't have to believe in multiple religions who share the same information. But truth is truth. And if this makes sense to you, the metaphors make sense to you, then there's probably a lot of truth to it. The real danger with what these manipulative people are doing is finding a way to cheat them, so they can avoid consequences of what they've done altogether. Now, why would they want to cheat death? Because maybe they're petrified of an afterlife. So they want to create their own world with their own rules without facing those spiritual consequences. And we know the attempts at evading any spiritual laws are futile, because if you believe in a God or creator, you know he created all physical things and all beings, so his power reigns supreme. But you hear this term, life is short. And yes, of course, it is short in the idea of the people who you love, your family that you want to cherish, your spouse, your kids, your parents, your siblings, the moments that you want to spend with your family. But at the same time, if you make or try to make right decision after right decision, down to the micro activity, and I'm talking about picking the particular bowl from the shelf because you know that there's an energy with one as opposed to another. And you're very careful with every single word that you use when you speak, when you text your friend, when you communicate with somebody, because you know that words have power. And if you say one phrase as opposed to another, it might lead them down a path you don't want them to go down because you care for them. Genuinely, then life can be very long as well. An authentic life is a full life. So if somebody enjoyed and accumulated a lot of things and their surroundings are built up, but their internal is not, then they probably did it the wrong way. You need to build up the internal and the external. And if you believe in an afterlife, a reincarnation, past lives, then you're probably going to check yourself a little bit more in terms of how you conduct yourself than somebody who just tries to evade it altogether. And maybe the energy you die with is the energy you start another life with. Water goes up to the clouds, comes back down as water. Is it that hard to believe that's what happens with us spiritual? But if you're petrified of that, maybe you didn't do as many things the right way as you could have. And none of us are perfect. we all struggle with the idea of who we are and who we potentially could be. But why do a lot of really wealthy people, suddenly who are billionaires, they all of a sudden become super philanthropic? They focus their whole life on accumulating so much wealth, and maybe there were some philanthropic efforts during that rise up, but nothing to the level of when they get to a certain age. Maybe it's because of that expiration date, or nearing it. You're thinking twice. You're suddenly fearing death and trying to reverse maybe some of the stuff that you've done, maybe bad stuff, maybe how you accumulated it. Maybe you're finally learning to shed the ego. Now, I believe that, we can reverse many things, but the worse you were, the harder that process will most likely be. And you'll know. You'll get signs, you'll get feelings of when you're really forgiven, if you're honest with yourself. But there are people who are trying to cheat death, not for legitimate reasons, like being with your family, but for other reasons. Petrified of who they will become or meeting their creator. The more good there is in this world, the more manipulation. So when you create technology, you have to be willing to combat that evil that comes with it. What measures, what protocols do you have in place? And if you don't have any, maybe you should think a little harder before doing it. This has been brought to you by TaskChat, the task management tool to simplify your life. TaskChatApp.com.